Yeah, welcome to the show. Today we got a whole
Mhm.
lot of fun stuff planned. Rob doesn't know what we're going to talk about, but we're
I
going to
very
talk.
rarely do. I very rarely do.
Yeah, and that's the fun part is we're
It
just
is.
we're just here for fun. Um, and
We're gonna
maybe you
get
learn
T-shirts
something.
that say "just riffing." Like that should
Just
be our
riffing.
first phrase. We're just riffing.
Yep. And the great thing is we have AI, so we're going to use that to go through all of our footage and be like, "Hey, can you tell us what we said for shirt ideas?" Boom, we can pull them all up. There's the
There you
clips.
go.
So thanks for noting that.
Yep,
It's gonna happen.
it's gonna happen.
So, let's see where to begin. The first
Mhm.
thing to begin with is well, the small talk. But as soon as I say like, "Ooh, let's have some small talk," I forget everything I was gonna say. So, what
Or it
I'm
becomes
gonna
a full
say,
episode. It becomes a full episode of small talk. Like that happens too.
that's true, and
Mhm.
some people are here for that. I've
I
been
think so.
asking some friends for feedback. Like,
Mhm,
"Hey,
mhm. Nice,
talk to
nice.
me, be honest." And
That's the hardest
what
part,
I'm
right? The be honest part, because they're like, "Oh, we love it." I'm like, "Come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I'm like, give me something that I can use here. That's
Constructive
great that you
criticism."
like it. Yeah, but that
Mhm,
doesn't
mhm.
help me if it's not actually great.
Yeah, it's like
So,
jumping into cheesecake and not telling them you're lactose intolerant, right? It's like, "Oh, this is
ooh,
good."
that's the perfect analogy for
Right?
this.
It's so I'll
Thanks,
take
Rob.
another bite.
Oh
I'll
man,
take another
the
bite. This is the best.
oh, it's so good.
Oh, man.
Um,
Do you have a bathroom here? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so thanks, friends.
Yeah,
No, but what I'm hearing is we got a lot of guys listening,
yeah,
and most of them are kind of like, kind of how we are too, in the sense of
yeah.
you listen to like you're trying to like eat a bunch of information, like I listen to specialists talking about X, Y, and Z. I want
Yep.
the subject matter expert for this and that. And then then I tell them they have to listen to our thing. They don't really have a choice. They have to just listen to it. And
Mhm.
they're like, it's kind of cool because I can
It's a
just have it
nice like
on
yeah,
and
yeah.
I can hear it. And females, there's like a million of these for them. There's
Mhm.
everybody just chit chats, but now there's a space for you guys.
We're
You're seen. You're
Yep, the
seen.
chit-chatting dads. That name was
So
taken, so that's why we didn't go with that, but yeah.
yeah, sorry guys.
Mhm,
um, so my first thing,
mhm,
here's some small talk for you. Um, and that is I was coming home just 10 minutes ago, and it's a beautiful day outside. I
mhm,
had the windows rolled down. It's fake spring here, and it's 62 degrees, sunny, the wind, the breeze, it's all lovely, everything's
mhm.
blooming, even though there's more rain to be had.
Yep.
um and I heard a motorcycle swung right past me,
Ooh.
and it evokes such a pleasant
Mhm.
feeling inside of me.
Mhm.
Every time. And
Yeah.
today it just hit a little bit more close to home. I am missing my motorcycle
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
greatly. Very, very, very greatly. Can't handle it. So I hope that one day soon, one of our subscribers out there surprises me with
Oh,
an
that was
Indian Scout bobber
nice.
or
That was
something
very
like that.
specific. That was nice.
Yeah, yeah. Just in case, I
Mhm.
figured there's a couple people out there that are, grinding away, and they thought, like, what should I
Mhm.
do with my money? I should
You
probably
know
give it
what?
to
I think
Travis
Travis
for a
wants an
motorcycle.
Indian bobber, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, I felt that today. And um, I know that you
Mhm.
actually you can kind of feel what I'm throwing out there because
Oh,
you
yeah.
had a motorcycle, right?
Yes, yes. I had a Harley 48, a little Sportster, got around town well. The dream was always to upgrade to a Dyna or Street Glide, but
Yeah.
that dream is still a dream. So right now, it's all hands on deck. And as
Yep.
dads, as parents, sometimes you gotta pick and choose. So I noticed it was hard to pick up Costco on the bike, so we decided to upgrade, and I use the word upgrade loosely, to a minivan. So that was the trade in. That was the trade in.
Oh man. Oh man, that's even worse than my trade. Um, I don't know if I could have pulled that off. I really don't think that would have. No, nope,
No,
nope.
you're
I
not?
draw a
Okay.
line, and I can't. I'm glad I was never put in that position. Let's just put it
Situ
that way.
There's more to that
Because
story, but we'll go over it another day on the
well, guess what,
reason for the
Rob?
trade. What?
Guess what, Rob?
Is today
We're
the day?
gonna today is the day, really. I
Mhm.
mean, I think, well, no, today is the day to cover, um, we're covering motorcycles and we're
Okay.
covering minivans.
Oh,
So,
okay.
it just so
Wow, that's like
happens, I
apples to
heard the
oranges.
motorcycle, and this was before I even realized. So, this is the episode. This is what you're listening to, motorcycles and minivans. It's going to catch everybody's eye, and
Oh
you
my
guys are
god.
going to want to know what we have to
That's
talk
a
about
catchy
this
title
because
too, motorcycles and minivans. The
whoa,
double M.
hey, that could be a t-shirt. Nope, not wearing it because there's a minivan on it. Sorry.
So,
AI, cancel that out. Cancel it.
sorry,
AI, no, I
Travis
don't
is
want this
very
one.
triggered by minivans right now. He'll get over it, guys. Like, if you've had one for a couple years, he'll get over it. We all know he'll get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I'm going into places. I'm going into a dark place. Get me out, Rob.
Happy
Help.
thoughts, Travis. Happy thoughts.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. The motorcycle, it
Yeah.
sounded great.
Mhm.
So before we dive into our topic today, which
Mhm.
we've already mentioned, that would have been a smooth right into it, dive right in. But we don't do smooth
We
here.
are
We
not
do nice
smooth.
and choppy, and we just bop bop bop
We
around
are
because we're
not
ripping.
smooth. Yes.
Yeah. So here's what I want. Here's what I'm gonna call our segment today is
Yeah.
uh I don't know what to call it. Wild dreams, audacious goals.
Uh-huh.
That's the segment for today. Wild WDAG. Woodag.
What ag?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, feeling a little spicy today. All right. Here's what I want us to talk about today.
Okay, what's the tee up?
Just
Let's
in
hear it.
our segment. This is our short segment, and then we'll
Okay,
get
this is
into
the intro
the
segment. Got
meat.
it.
Yep, yep. You don't have to edit any of this. We're
No,
just
no, we're
rolling with it.
we're just going
So,
straight through.
um, so here's my question to you, Rob.
Yeah.
If maybe you're a dreamer,
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
So if you were to think back on all of your ideas, your
Mhm.
thoughts,
Mhm.
maybe there's one that isn't very realistic, or
Mhm.
maybe there's one that is maybe it's realistic, maybe one day,
Mhm.
an idea you have, or really anything. It could be a concept, it could be a business, it could be something you want to taste. I don't care what it is,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
what is something that is wildly audacious that you've had an idea that you wanted? Man, if I had all of the resources available to me, I would want to do this thing. I would want to see this thing. I would want
Mm.
to be whatever it is. I know
Okay.
that's
I've
really
got I've
ambiguous.
got I've got 2. So I've got the old Rob, and the old Rob would probably predate kids because there
Yep.
was
Okay.
one thing that was kind of like on the back burner and like, hey, maybe one day I'll get to it. And then
Yeah.
there's post kids, uh, as far as like vision board. If all the ducks aligned and I never got paid for it, I'd probably still do it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So pre kids, a little bit insight in a past life. I was an industrial designer. And the reason I got into industrial design is I like the idea of problem solving, right? So if you were to kind of track all the jobs and businesses and so on and so forth, it would be all around problem solving, right? A lot of it's around a certain problem solving. So with industrial design, I would want to start a consultancy with friends where we did design that would be quote unquote free, but for problems that are the masses are kind of facing, right? So not like uh, dig a well or anything like that. But as far as like ergonomics, usability, like things that like we'll get to that when we get there. But for us to be doing it for free, right? There's a bunch of us designers. We'd tackle some key problems in the areas that we're all interested in. So a lot of consultancies do that, right? They'll design like another example, like sunglasses one week, maybe a vacuum cleaner the next week. Maybe it's a car the following, season. So that's the kind of idea I always liked, because it was a new problem every season that we could solve. But I would want it really focused on problems that the masses are having, not just like, ooh, cool little doodad for the dashboard. So that was during pre-kids. I was heavy into design. That's it. But now, and this is a little niche, as if you get to know me, I'm very, very focused on one thing at a time. But I am a jujitsu practitioner. I guess that's the terminology people use. And I think one of the things I would
Uh-huh.
one of the things I would love to see is accessibility to it, be it for mainly for kids. So kids who don't have the financial means or the resources to sponsor kids, and two ways to do that: either through creating a ecosystem of academies that are willing to take on, of course we create like a nonprofit, so we'd give them like a stipend to pay for taking these kids in and teaching them, because it gives them community, gives them discipline, right? It empowers them. And then I would want to do that in the schools. So as an option to like your traditional PE, right? Where you would actually have someone come in and teach jujitsu to classes. And I think one of two things. One, I remember when I was a kid, a boy in middle school and crazy energy, it would direct that energy towards something positive. I would learn how to handle all my emotions and energy, and as far as discipline, and it would give me something that I would be like gamified, right? It's not like, oh, day one, I'm great at this, right? Or I can dribble a basketball sort of and shoot. Let's play basketball. I know this would be a long game thing. So it would teach me patience. And I think if I got that as a kid going through middle school and high school, I think it would kind of seep into everything else I was doing as far as
Uh-huh.
communication, patience, projects, stuff like that. So I would love to see a program where the schools are taking on that as an option for their kids. So that's the, blank check
Ooh.
project where we can get funding for it and send instructors. There's great teachers in school. There's also great jujitsu teachers. And so to be able to get those facilitators in our schools, I think it's a win-win, because a lot of like the parents, right, have kids going. So it's like, hey, why don't, you've been doing jujitsu for a while. Why don't you teach a class like once a week at your local middle school that your kid is already going to? So that would be the big picture. So those are my two. So how about you, Travis? What's the blank check Travis look like?
Well, here's the deal. I just want to say this first before we dive in is if you don't recall, I lived that. I lived that dream that you have
Ooh.
because my dad and his buddy were jujitsu. Uh, well, at the time, I don't know if they changed the wording over time, but basically they were professors.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different
Um, so,
ones.
so I got to grow up in middle school
That is so
doing
cool.
jujitsu and having pizza afterwards and living that life. And you know what? That came in real handy when I had like one bully
There you go.
that was, but not really even, wasn't even really a, wasn't like a bully situation, but it kind of was, like, um, I'm going off script here. Let's talk about this. This is a good story. This is the
Okay.
stuff that the guys came for.
Okay.
So,
There you go.
um, I mean, I guess I don't really have. Sorry, guys, in advance. I don't even have any. I don't have any cool, fight stories. I didn't knock anybody out, But when I was in middle school, was on a soccer team, and there was one kid that was just a huge jerk.
Mhm.
He was the worst. And I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna give this guy the time of day. Whatever. He's on my team. Whatever. He's the coach's kid. Oh
Ooh.
shoot! I just called him out. What if this is
What?
a small world? We live in California. I bet you he's hearing this now. He's probably a
Hey,
nice guy now. He
nice
probably is.
guy,
Yeah,
follower. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's not like I'm wearing this on my shoulders as a heavy weight if
No.
he's listening. So, um, yeah. So he was a jerk, and he like would always like come up and like punch me in the arm. He's like, "What's
Ugh.
up, brah?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Why are you doing that?" And I started getting bruises on my
Yeah.
arms. So one day I was at home and my parents noticed all these bruises on my arms, and my dad was like, What's that from?"
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, just some kid on the team. Like, it's really not a big deal." And he's like, "Well, let's talk about this." So we had
Let's break
jujitsu
this
that
down.
week, as per the usual. And
Yeah.
they pulled me aside, my dad and his buddy who was also teaching. And they were like, here's how we're going to resolve this.
Mhm.
It was great. They showed me all sorts of things. So they laid out, basically, I have like, what's the word? Carte blanche. Like I have all the freedom. I've been given the freedom by my people
Mhm.
to unleash the jujitsu on this guy if I need to. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I was always raised, you never ever start a fight, but you
Yep.
sure finish it, right? So
Yeah.
okay. And I'm like, okay. So I'm ready. And they taught me all the things. And they were like, you know what? If he does this, you drop him. And if you
Yep.
drop him, you put your elbow right in there and you make sure he never touches you again. So
Mhm.
I'm like, great, I'm ready. So I go to soccer the next day and I'm like, oh, come on, hit me in the arm, man. And he never did it ever again. He never even, it just never happened. I guess he got wind or something, but I just
Mhm.
had like a fire in my eyes.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I missed out, I guess. But all that to say, jujitsu
Mhm.
comes in handy for a plethora of reasons.
Yeah.
But I also had my friends and
There
my
you go.
community there, and it
Yeah.
was a great space. And I learned from people that I, looked up to.
Mhm.
And so, um, man, you have, as always, some great audacious goals that actually would make the world better. My wildly audacious goal is
Let's hear it.
not so world
Ah.
building.
Oh, actually,
So
a quick
Rob,
tangent
here's
though. So the
yeah.
reason, and that's a great story. The reason why I'd be interested in putting this into schools at a younger age is so that I could address the bully, right? Before he
Yes.
gets to that point, right? Maybe he's not learning about discipline. Maybe he doesn't know how to use his emotions and energy. So if we could get him in early enough, I'm
Yes.
hoping to not even get to the situation where he's picking on another kid, right? Because he doesn't need to,
Yep.
right? It's not a call for help anymore. So back to you, Travis. What would be your blank check? Like, what was the one thing that you would do if you knew you could? You had the resources, the
Well,
support, so on and so forth.
let me tell you. Okay, you guys ready for this
I'm
one?
ready.
I live in a place where there are like quite a few trains around,
Mhm.
and there's this like train junkyard almost. Like I
Ooh.
drive by it every single day, and there are a couple trains just sitting right on the side of the road in this like enclosed space. And I really
Ooh.
want, I'm going to
Where
do
is this
this one day.
going?
So
I
this
know where
is
this
this is
is
a
going.
real thing that's going to
Okay.
happen, but I want to get one of those trains and I want to put it in our backyard, and I want
Mhm,
to make it
mhm,
like a really cool like clubhouse
mhm.
slash, it could be an ADU at some point, I don't know.
I was
But
gonna say a living
there we
quarters, that
have
would be
space.
awesome.
Yeah,
That
that
would
could
be
be my
awesome.
new wood shop slash, studio.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh boy. So, but my
I
hope
can see
was
that
I could
happening. I
figure
could
out.
literally see that happening too.
I mean, I'm gonna make the call. The thing is, I need to figure out who owns that like area, and I got to figure out how to. So I might call the city first
I wouldn't be
and
surprised
figure
if
it
you
out.
didn't get it for free or they would pay you to take it, right? Because it's just dead
Well, see,
space, right?
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, because some of
Right?
these, they're not going into museums, that's for
No,
sure,
no.
right? So my thought is, but here's the deal: even if they gave it to me for free, which would have to happen, the
Mhm.
other thing is I would have to pay the freight to get it
Oh, you'd have to
craned.
move it.
I would have to
Yeah.
have it moved, both moved
Forklifted
and
over.
craned over our house.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna have to line that up for when we somehow magically have money and
Well, we'll
we
just do a
we
GoFundMe account
redo
to
our
get
house.
Travis a
Get Travis the
get
train.
Travis the
Choo
train.
choo for Travis. Choo choo for Travis.
There you go. We'll
Uh,
do a fundraiser. Choo choo for
yeah.
Travis. No, that's good.
So,
I like it.
yep. That's my crazy one. I was driving past it again today, and that made me think I'm gonna ask Rob about this. Maybe he has some crazy ideas. And of course, he's got some crazy ideas that serve mankind. And I'm just like in my backyard with my choo choo. So
Yeah, but you know what? I might have crazy
yeah,
ideas for
pretty
mankind,
cool.
but I'm hanging out in the choo choo. So
You're coming over.
we're
You're
coming
coming.
over the
You're
choo
coming
choo
up
for
to
sure.
NorCal, and we are
Yep.
hanging out.
Yep.
We'll be live in studio with no Wi-Fi lag whatsoever. What a
Nope.
concept.
Exactly. One day.
One
One
day.
day. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we're already like almost a whole episode in and we've just started. So let me tell you, you know what? Maybe, yeah, we might have to have a whole, well, we'll see. Let's just see how it goes. Okay.
Yep.
So we haven't had the conversation yet, Rob, and I thought it would be really fun to
Okay.
have this live, like first time conversation together
Okay.
about the motorcycle life, and
Okay.
then we can potentially transition into this minivan life as well. Okay.
I like how Travis is like, if we have to,
I
if we
mean,
get there, we can just talk about
yeah.
motorcycles. But if
But
we
see,
have
but here's
to,
the thing is the title. We already said like the title is
yeah,
motorcycles
there's
and
got to be some
minivans.
minivan talk. But yeah, I'm all in.
And it's got a ring. It has a ring to it, and that's
It
gonna pull
does.
people in.
It
So,
does.
um, anyways, yeah. So the motorcycle life.
Hmm.
I have been 8 years without a motorcycle. I think
Ooh.
maybe 9. However, I got the great chance to borrow a buddy's bike. He's like stopped riding. His wife didn't really want him to, but he didn't
Hmm.
want to sell it yet. And so I got the chance to just like, he was like, dude, you can have it for now until I sell it. And I got to ride that thing around like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, for like a year. So
Nice.
that was great. I got to like kind of, get it, get some motorcycle exhaust into my bloodstream again.
There you
And
go.
so it was a wonderful thing. Um, I have had some great conversations with people
Hmm.
about owning one again. And now, lots of people in my sphere have kids,
Hmm.
similar to
Hmm.
me. And so a lot of the conversation has been about like, yeah, I remember those days. They were great. And so I can respect that. I can absolutely respect where anybody finds themselves on
Yeah.
this spectrum. So I just
Hmm.
want to point out that everybody here who's listening is welcome.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing for me has always been like, there's not an if, like it is a when. I
Hmm.
will own a motorcycle again. The question is when. And
Hmm. Hmm.
generally speaking, the conversation has always been just because financially, when can I
Hmm.
afford one again?
Yeah.
Um, but because it doesn't seem like it's very likely, I feel like me and my wife have to do some more chit chat about like if that actually is in the cards, even if we could financially afford it, because of the whole conversation about safety, about all the other
Hmm.
people out on the road, and what is safe versus not safe.
I got you.
So yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk motorcycles for a little bit. So
Yeah.
you know what, since I'm gonna be asking this to you, I will start and then you can
Yeah.
piggyback off of
I'll fill
this.
in. Hmm.
Um, I grew up. My dad owned a couple motorcycles,
Hmm.
and so throughout my childhood, I looked at that and I was like, that is cool. I
Hmm.
want a motorcycle. I'm going to ride one for sure. And he was just like a recreational rider. It wasn't, like Travis Pastrana or anything level, like, but
He
it
wasn't doing
was
double
like, man, I
backflips
mean,
in the
he might as
backyard?
well have been.
Maybe.
Yeah, he wasn't doing any double backflips,
No evil Knievel
and
jump into
so
5 buses?
that would have been cool.
No.
But like I got a good healthy with a lot of this goes for a lot of things. Just shout out to my pops. I got a
Mhm.
lot of healthy like examples of like how to use tools well, like
Yes.
woodworking tools, motorcycles, uh, my hands in
Mhm.
jujitsu. Boom, like I knew how to use tools very effectively because of him. So yeah, that's a good way to put it. I just realized this is great. So,
There you go.
um, yeah, so I just knew I'm gonna get one. I got to ride on the back when I was big enough, and he'd take us out real quick on the freeway, and go
Mm.
brrrr, and I was like, the rush, the adrenaline, like the wind blowing in your face. It was the most
Yes.
amazing thing. And then the smell, I love the smell. I mean, it depends obviously on what kind of engine and all this stuff. And I don't know a lot of that lingo, so I'm not
Mhm.
there either. There are guys that can like build, take apart,
I've got
rebuild
friends like that. Yeah, that it's their
bikes.
thing, right? Their hobby is motorcycles.
And yes, and that's a big shout out, but I think you have different levels, right? So you got that like the gearhead that's like has all the stuff,
Mhm.
and then you have people like myself that I'm like, I love motorcycles and I will ride them like as much as I possibly can,
Mhm.
but I can't really fix them outside of your standard, like
Yeah.
change the oil and
Right.
whatnot.
Yep.
So anyways, and then yeah, the rest of the spectrum. But anyways, that's where I was at, and I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna do that. And he was like, you can ride one as soon as you like graduate. Like he's like, you have to be at least 18. So that in my
Yeah.
head, I was like, all right, I can wait. And then I didn't get on one. I didn't end up taking the test and like learning until later, much
Mhm.
later, even because again, I didn't have any money. I wasn't like a young entrepreneur. I was just like, I'm in college. I want burritos from Del
Exactly.
Taco.
That's all I could afford in
So
college. Yeah.
that's what I spent my money on was chicken soft tacos. So other people were starting their 401ks, and I was in taco
Enjoying the
land.
taco
So
lane. Yep.
yeah, hey, I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
There you
So
go.
no regrets, no regrets. Um, and then I finally got the chance. I bought a Kawasaki Vulcan off
Mm.
of my brother-in-law. He had a sweet motorcycle and he was switching it out. He was doing he had a bunch of other toys to buy. And so I bought that thing, trailered it down from NorCal to SoCal, and thus the dream became a reality.
Mhm.
And I learned all the stuff. I split traffic every day on the 405 and the 605, baby. It was like winning the lottery every day. Let me tell you, people, there are some people listening to this and they're like, you you should be dead by now. How dare you ride in between two cars? I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
And I hear you. I hear you and I respect you as an individual, but I'm not going to listen to you. So, boom, baby. If you want to feel like you're winning in life, just go split traffic in
Just
Southern
split traffic
California.
for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be real honest with you. That was 10 years ago, 11
Mhm.
years ago. Now, like I've been back there. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
A little
Um,
different.
I mean, I tried just not to die in my car the last time I went down there. So traffic is like that's like a whole new
It's a
beast.
different beast. It's a different beast for sure.
So yeah, and I mean that was all I had. And then my buddy had a Yamaha Bolt that I rode. It was like kind of like
Nice.
that bobbery style.
Mhm.
And so yeah, and then just riding out through the mountains, did some longer rides. Like, oh,
Mhm.
what a beautiful thing! It's just so fun to be in the atmosphere that you're in. Like in a car, you're in a box, but it's like you have this like extra freedom when you are well, and to be able to twist that throttle and like go, man, it's like the closest you're gonna get to like being in a race car. You
Oh,
can't
for
get in
sure.
a race car, but you can get on a motorcycle.
Yes. Yes, you can. I know for
So
me, when I was younger, it was definitely that feel of exhilaration. But as I got older, I noticed motorcycles for me was a form of like mental break, as far as like, I don't know, call it meditation, call it what you want. And I think the
yes,
reason being is when you're on a motorcycle out, right, in a public area, you are so focused on what needs to be done to keep you safe, right? To
yep,
the point where you're not thinking about paying rent this month. You're not thinking about the business. You're not thinking about family. You're not thinking about all the things you normally would fill your attention. All you're thinking
singular
about is
focus.
riding. Yeah. And that's the most relaxing thing you can do is anytime you're singularly focused. So for me, it was my way of taking a mental break, right? Going out into the mountains, it was my way. Early on, I got exposed to motorcycles through close friends with dirt bikes. So that's how I got into it because I didn't need to be 18 to be on a dirt bike. So, and there was no stop signs, there's no red lights, right? And so that's how I learned to ride was on a dirt bike. But then it was like, okay, I can't, my knees can't handle the little whoop de whoops anymore. Like I need something else. And then I started getting into not so much street bikes. I was always fascinated, and I mentioned it before, like Evil Knievel, like the
Yeah,
classic motorcycles, right? The street bobbers, the long ride across America, kind of like that's the bike I wanted. And so that was always the aspiration. Once I got to a certain point, I told myself with one of the businesses, hey, once I got to this point, then we're going to get a bike. And the asterisk, this is before kids, by the way, just like soloing, not a care in the world. But after you have kids, some priorities change. And I think that's why this is called motorcycles and minivans, is because now, both safety and risk reward. But you mentioned before, like, oh, motorcycles are dangerous. So are cars, right? And actually, I would almost argue cars can be more dangerous because you can get distracted, right? Changing the CD, dog barking in the back. Like, there's a lot more distractions. Whereas a motorcycle, all you're focusing on are the 50 feet in front of you, right? That's it. So that's how
right.
I swung around to a motorcycle. And then eventually, had to put it on the back burner for a while, but it will come again. The day will come again where we ride. But just for right now, like what we talked about and literally all the other subjects, is just the season.
That's right. That's right. And I apologize to anybody. I noticed you were freezing a lot on my end, which means that it's my internet and I'm going out. So sorry if there's a delay. But
okay. I just thought you liked
yeah,
to smile for a while, and then it came back.
just freeze.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, it's yeah, the only thing, that's the thing, is you were so focused. Really, the thing that it comes down to, I feel like most of the time, outside of the guys that are like doing some illegal stuff out there, the most common thing is somebody else hitting you, right?
Yeah.
That you can't control, right? But
Yes.
now I'm grateful these days. Like when I get on again, I'm gonna get one of those jackets that has like the airbag in it,
Oh yeah,
and
they
that's
make
gonna
them
at
now.
least mitigate some risk. Still, yes, could it be my time? Like there's so many different things you could say that about for so
Exactly.
many different,
Exactly.
like so. I own a chainsaw. Could that hit?
Maybe
That
shouldn't
could
be juggling,
happen.
right? Like stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, we'll definitely be back on. We need to ride, and we will play this episode again, a little clip of it, and then
There you
you
go.
and me on the
Well,
bikes, like this,
exactly.
because we're gonna be doing this podcast for the next decade. So
Easily.
I'm pumped.
Easily. Um, with that
But
being
yeah.
said,
So
though,
then you said you had to swap your motorcycle
yes, for a
for a
minivan.
minivan, and
Yes.
then I swapped. I swapped my motorcycle for a truck. I needed it at the time. This was pre
There you
kids
go.
also,
Yep.
but it was also the motorcycle was dying. It had blowback, so there was
Ooh.
oil coming out of the engine, and like I was like, I can sell it right now for about the same price I bought it for,
Ooh.
or I
Awesome.
can enjoy the bike for another 4 months, and then
Mhm.
I'm gonna be have no money back.
Yeah. Yeah. Selling it for
So
parts. Right. That's basically it.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. I have a problem, and I am going to admit that to everybody. I spent the last 12 years of my life waking up every day
Hmm.
telling myself that I hate minivans with a
Hmm.
passion, that
Hmm.
I would rather lose an arm or a leg than be seen touching
In
a
a
minivan.
minivan.
And
I know.
so when you wake up and you tell yourself that every day, that's your mantra, to live by, is I will never be seen with one of those. It hits hard when you end up having to drive one into your driveway. And so yeah, I've learned a lot, guys. It's been like 3 weeks of owning one, and I've been exercising my brain and trying to relieve myself of the discrimination that I've built up. So I've been telling my
Hmm.
wife things I'm thankful for every day. Hey, what's something
Every
that I'm
day.
thankful for that this van provides? And so, yes, I'm in a much better place now. But I I'm not I am not going to be the guy that's like van life, baby. Maybe that's
I'm gonna
you.
edit this, and like years down the road, when Travis is that guy, I'm gonna play this back. Travis, remember when you weren't the leader of the minivan crew? Now you are. This is the reason why, sir. Right here.
Yeah, I explicitly do not give anybody
Please,
permission to
please
use
chop this up.
that audio clip that
Please,
exists
please
of me
re-chop that up
saying
and
that.
post it. I
Never. I
love
will
the
I will
minivans.
sue you.
You know what? That's gonna be our
um
intro, right? Dads in real life. I love minivans.
oh man. Oh man.
Okay, sir. I
Oh,
gotta call it
clickbait
there.
central.
I gotta
Yeah.
call it there. Oh my!
So, we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about vans soon.
We'll fold it back
Until
in.
then, don't forget, we're not professionals.
Oh, we are not gurus.
We are
We're
just
two
two
dads
dads
in
in
real
real
life
life.
that used to ride motorcycles. Yep, that's it.
So